connection with these strikes that we've seen from Iran on several areas of Israel, and we're talking residential areas throughout the last, saying that at least 4 people have died and more than a dozen others are injured. We'll continue to
live from Michigan Avenue. This is Fox 32's Good Day Chicago.
Breaking news this morning, the U.S. and Israel continue to put pressure on Iran following the death of its supreme leader. People in Chicago and across the world are divided on the actions of the U.S. and Israel. And we are having a cold Sunday to kick off the month of March for the Chicago area. Tensions in the Middle East continue to rise this weekend with a massive explosion hitting Iran's capital city just one day after Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed. The Israeli military says it hit targets in central Tehran earlier this morning. The city's skyline was filled with plumes of smoke. The explosion appeared to be in a neighborhood where police headquarters and Iranian state TV are stationed. We are also learning this morning that Iran's chief of army staff and the defense minister were killed by an airstrike during a meeting of the country's defense council. The Iranian military has been launching airstrikes at Israel and other countries in the region as retaliation for the supreme leader's death. This is new video of missiles being intercepted in Dubai earlier this morning. Iran has been targeting U.S. bases across the Middle East. Reports say the UAE Air Defense Ministry intercepted several Iranian missiles. Dubai officials say all flights to and from its 2 main airports have been suspended until further notice. It is not just travelers in Dubai impacted by this conflict. International flyers in Bali, Indonesia, they're also left stranded. Airport officials say more than 1,600 tourists are stuck at the Bali airport. Several flights to the Middle East have been canceled or postponed because of airspace closures in Dubai and Qatar. Airlines such as Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Etihad Airways have now been impacted. The stranded passengers are waiting for clarification on when they can leave.
It got canceled yesterday because of the situation.
How long you been in Bali for holiday?
2 weeks. And then yesterday we were at the airport for 8 hours after we got sent to a hotel.
Right. So have you get the flight back?
The what?
The flight back to...
No, we haven't gotten anything.
Airport officials say overall operations are running normal. In Pakistan, 9 people are dead following clashes outside the U.S. consulate. Hundreds of protesters stormed the consulate and clashed with police as a reaction to Iran's supreme leader getting killed over the weekend. Video shows what appears to be a tear gas being thrown into the crowds. Police officers say at least 8 others were wounded. According to officials, protesters have been dispersed and the situation is now under control. And there has been plenty of reaction to President Trump's actions, with many Illinois leaders giving their thoughts on the situation. Governor Pritzker released this statement saying President Trump doesn't care about the safety and lives of American service members. Senator Dick Durbin released a statement saying even though there's bipartisan support for stopping the development of nuclear weapons in Iran, there is no consensus for another war in the Middle East. Senator Tammy Duckworth, a combat veteran, provided her input. She says while she knows the Iranian people have suffered, President Trump didn't go about this the right way.
Listen, I agree with folks who say that Iran has been led by an oppressive regime. The Iranian people who are struggling for freedom and democracy deserve to be supported. On the other hand, the President of the United States needed to have come to Congress and informed us. I'm deeply concerned that he is leading us into another war that the American people do not want, that was not necessary at this time because we were not under imminent attack.
Indiana lawmakers also reacting to the airstrikes in Iran. Indiana Senator Todd Young posted this message online saying Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, even though no one wants more conflict in the Middle East. And Congressman Frank J. Mervan, who represents Indiana's 1st Congressional District, posted this message on Facebook saying Iran currently poses a threat to the U.S., our allies, and the Middle East region. He is calling on House Speaker Mike Johnson to reconvene the House so there could be a vote on a war powers resolution. Now, back here at home, anti-war protesters in Chicago were quick to respond to the attack on Iran. A coalition of 27 Chicago-based organizations held what they called an emergency protest at Federal Plaza in the Loop.
We condemn this brazen attempt by the U.S. to destabilize the region, and we stand in unconditional solidarity with the people of Iran as the U.S. and Israel launches yet another deadly campaign of imperialist violence and repression against a sovereign nation.
We all stand united today, demanding an end to the criminal attack on Iran and demand no more war.
In the meantime, there is a very different reaction from members of Chicago's Iranian American community who gathered at Daley Plaza to celebrate that attack. Dane Placco reports.
It was nothing short of a dance party and celebration as about 100 Iranian Americans met under the Picasso statue in Daley Plaza to celebrate the U.S. attack on their homeland and the death of its longtime leader.
Finally, last night, I smiled a little bit. After 2 months crying and begging for help from the Western countries, from the free world, finally, as President Trump promised, as he said, help is on its way, it arrived. You're crying.
I am cry laughing. This is surreal. We have been wanting this for 47 years.
Many of those here say their families fled to the United States decades ago to escape Iran's oppressive religious government. This couple handing out sweets to celebrate.
We are giving the sweets to people after 47 years of torture and being hostage. With this regime, we have it. This is the happiest day of my life.
Others held pictures of protesters killed in Iran during a vicious government crackdown earlier this year.
These people have died at the hands of their government. It's exciting that Khamenei's dead. These thousands, tens of thousands of people lost their family.
They admit regime change will not be easy, but they believe there will be a groundswell of support to bring back the son of the late Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, who's been living in exile since 1979.
People are just ready for the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, and President Trump, as they said, just take shelter, wait for now, we'll let you know, to come back to the street and take over the government when it's safe to do so.
That was Dane Placco reporting. Okay, let's take a break now. And on this Sunday, let's find out what you can expect with your forecast. Mark, it is March 1st. Can you believe that?
First day of meteorological spring.
And does that mean anything?
Well, not if you look at these numbers.
Yeah, it's cold.
You know, it means something to me because I celebrate meteorological spring.
You are a meteorologist.
Yeah, I mean, I say out with the Gregorian calendar, in with the meteorological calendar, because we will see warmer temperatures coming our way. Here's what's going on today, though. It will not feel very spring-like. We've got daytime high temperatures today right around the freezing point. Along the lake, temperatures sub-freezing. You get out to the western suburbs, temperatures in the mid-30s and the upper 30s, south and west of the city. So temperatures running about 10 degrees below average in some areas. Now, a mix of sun and clouds today. It will be a little bit breezy, especially this morning. Look for winds to gust at times up to 15 to 25 miles per hour. Satellite and radar, again, kind of a little mix of sun and clouds. I think we'll have more clouds at times during the afternoon, and during the late day, I think we'll experience partial clearing leading into partly cloudy skies tomorrow. Tomorrow looks like a halfway decent day, especially the early part of the day. Temperatures right now, 27 Lakeshore, 26 southwest side, northwest side, 25. A chilly 17 degrees on the square in Woodstock, and right now it's 19 in Utica. Well, winds pretty light across the northwest suburbs, the western suburbs, but we're still seeing 26-mile-per-hour wind gusts at Midway, 22-mile-per-hour wind gusts along the lake at Gary, and we're seeing even some high teens from Kankakee back to around Chicago Heights. So yeah, a little bit blustery in some cases. So that drops the wind chill down into the teens across much of the area. In fact, the wind chill is cold as 6 degrees right now in Sugar Grove. It's 13 in Chicago Heights. It is 11 in LaSalle, Peru this hour. Well, there are some scattered pockets of some very light snowfall, a little bit up the lake. Earlier, we were thinking that some of this activity could bring us a flake or a flurry, maybe an isolated snow shower along the lake. I don't think that's going to be a big deal today. I think things are going to be relatively quiet. But if we do see any activity, it'll be some very light stuff hugging right along the lake. Meanwhile, the snowfall that went across Wisconsin yesterday continues to move off towards the northeast and New England. Coming the rest of the week, temperatures warming nicely, but you will need your umbrella. Details ahead.
All right, thanks, Mark. Coming up on Good Day, we're going to continue our coverage on the conflict in the Middle East and the latest on what we're hearing out of Washington, D.C. We'll be right back.
I'm
Nards.
Welcome back. It's 7:12. Yesterday, the world woke up to the news that the U.S. and Israel were attacking Iran. Iran has retaliated since with several strikes against U.S. interests. Rebecca Castor joining us now live from Washington. Rebecca, good morning to you. Tell us what's the latest and what's going on in D.C. this morning.
Sylvia, good morning. So we know attacks on both sides continue this morning overseas. We know the Israel Defense Forces are bombing targets inside Tehran to dismantle what's left of the Iranian regime. The supreme leader was killed yesterday. That was very big news, along with 40 senior commanders in the first minute of this attack. So this was carefully planned. But surviving members of the regime are hitting back. That's what we're seeing playing out right now across the Middle East. They launched a wave of strikes yesterday, and that is ongoing this morning. Many of their missiles, we know, were intercepted. Some have caused damage. We're getting reports this morning of significant damage after a strike in Jerusalem this morning.
So the president isn't the first to invoke the War Powers Act to use this in order to be able to do what he's currently doing. But a lot of people are saying that that he should have gone through Congress. What is the president saying in reaction to that?
Yeah, so that is going to be a big debate we hear from lawmakers when they return here to Washington tomorrow. You're right. Many presidents have used this War Powers Act. Gerald Ford, George H.W. Bush, Presidents Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they all used this act to send troops overseas into conflicts. The key thing with this act that we will see discussed over the next several weeks is the act requires the president to get congressional approval within 60 to 90 days. So that is going to be the debate that we hear from lawmakers. They're going to have to make that decision if they want to, somewhat cripple the president right now as this operation is ongoing, or let him continue with his plan.
Thank you so much, Rebecca Castro, reporting live for us. Let's find out now. Let's go back to what's happening with our forecast. Mark, you're standing. You know what's happening next weekend?
What's happening next weekend?
Daylight time change, right? Isn't that coming up soon?
It's coming up very shortly.
So,
yeah. You know what? I will embrace having daylight past 6 o'clock at night.
Won't that? I'm going to embrace it having past 4:30 at night.
You know,
right?
That is the worst, isn't it? You get December.
You get off work and it's dark.
Yeah, you go to work, you go to school, it's dark. You come home, it's dark.
Signs of spring.
Finally, we're starting to feel it. We see some sunshine out over the lake here this morning. A beautiful shot looking out to the east and to the southeast. And you can see some puffy fair weather cumulus clouds. I think we're going to see more cloud cover than sunshine for a good portion of the day. But it will be a mix of clouds and sun as we hang out today on a Sunday. It's also going to be a chilly Sunday. In spite of the red you see behind me, today look for daytime high temperatures pretty close to 32 degrees. That is about 10 degrees below average. But we turn that around as early as tomorrow. We're into the low 40s Monday and Tuesday, and then we rocket right up into the upper 40s, into the 50s, and we are in the upper 50s and maybe even a 60-degree reading coming later this week. And the trend, taking us all the way through the middle of March, is for temperatures to be on average above normal. So here's how we roll as we go through the rest of the week. Starting out in low 40s, about where we should be this time of year. Then 50 on Wednesday, 54 degrees on Thursday, all the way up into the low 60s on Friday. The weekend looks pretty decent, and then mild conditions Monday and Tuesday. And even beyond that, we're looking for the trend to continue with above normal temperatures, some mild conditions around Chicago. Now, it's going to be warm this week. It is also going to be wet. We've got a lot of cloud cover coming our way, especially after Monday, and we have chances of rainfall starting Monday night and continuing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be an all-day, all-week soaker, but we do have some pretty significant chances of rain coming our way, and it will definitely be one of those weeks where you will need the umbrella handy. And, the raincoat, if you haven't used it for a while, you're going to get an opportunity coming up this next week.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Girl Scouts are doing more than just selling cookies this weekend. They're also learning what it takes for a career in law. The 16th annual Project Law Seminar was held at the DePaul College of Law. Scores of Girl Scouts from the Chicago area and Northwest Indiana got some mentoring from female attorneys, including taking part in a mock trial.
So they get paired with a mentor, they get to work up their case for trial, they get paired with Second City actors to play their witnesses, and then we get to go to court and have trials in front of real-life presiding judges and jurors from off the street. It's an incredible opportunity for the girls to stand up, use their voice, and work together to build a case.
They also learn skills such as critical thinking, public speaking, and teamwork that can help even if they do not pursue a career in the courtroom. Mayor Johnson, part of a ribbon-cutting ceremony held in the back of the Yards neighborhood. They're celebrating the construction of 2 new homes in the 5,000 block of South Aberdeen on what used to be 2 empty lots. This is part of city and private efforts called the Resurrection Project, which aims to build a total of 28 new homes this year for low-income families. As the program expands, they hope to build 2,000 new homes on empty lots on the city's south and west sides.
Converting these lots, these vacant lots, into 28 new homes, we are not only making use of unused land, but we are making neighborhoods safer. We are attracting economy and expanding opportunities for affordable home ownership.
The new homes cost $500,000 to build, but are being sold for $315,000 with the help of city and state assistance. The Asian American Coalition of Chicago puts on its annual Lunar New Year celebration. There was a reception, a lion dance, and plenty of other performances as they welcomed the Year of the Horse. Coming up, don't you just hate it when animals break into your backyard? Well, what about a family of bears? Mark and I will be chatting about that and other stories after the break. Welcome back. It is 7:21. A pest control company was called to a Central Texas home after the family started hearing noises coming from their dryer. It didn't take too long for them to discover what was causing all of the racket. Yep, there it is. It's a squirrel. The critter had crawled all the way up the dryer, went into the vent, and then got stuck, but was later released into the yard shortly after being removed. Oh. Have you ever had a crazy critter in your home?
I had a squirrel one time.
Inside the house?
Yeah, I bought a house, and I got a call before we closed on the house, and the neighbor said, you know, I see there's a little hole in the eaves troughs, and the house had been vacant for a while during the sale, and I see this little critter sticking his nose out. So I get on the horn, and I'm like, hey, we need to fix this before I buy this house.
Yeah.
Well, someone came, they did a very lovely patch job, and he painted it all up, and yeah, Mr. Squirrel was on the inside.
Oh.
So I hear all of a sudden running around, it sounds like a raccoon or something up there. I make another phone call, and they're like, oh yeah, he's up there. He had found another way out and was deciding to live in my house for the winter time.
How long did that take?
A couple of weeks, but there was a squirrel guy that came with his little squirrel cages. I mean, this guy was funny because he was like he was like known for being the trapper guy around, and he insisted that, you know, once we catch him, I'm going to take him out to the forest preserve.
And let him live free.
Yeah, and he, you know, he lived free and happily ever after.
How about that?
Peanut butter, by the way.
Oh, peanut butter was the key?
That was the key.
Okay, so he was in the attic at this point?
He was in the attic,
Okay.
yeah, running around. I'm like, and I was a little freaked out because I'm like, what's going on? What kind of, is this haunted? What's going on here?
Yeah, that would be freaky.
Right?
And who could sleep with that noise all night, right?
Well, you know what? They were very, very quiet at first, but every once in a while I'd hear a little thing. So
that would totally
I just didn't want to share my brand new house with a squirrel.
I don't blame
It was bad enough with 4 kids running around. All right, can you see these glowing eyes? It's a mama bear and her cubs. They're popping right through a screen porch, making a little hole, ripping right through the screen. If you ever thought you were safe in a screened room, no, look at that. The bears go right through that. Look at that. They're walking over a table, heading straight for a trash can.
I was going to say there was food in there, wasn't there?
There was. They were smelling. You know, bears, they can smell stuff from a mile away. Well, at first, the bears came in and they just got trash all over the place.
They got trashed?
They didn't get trashed. They were having a good old time there. I'm surprised it looked like a grill was there. I'm surprised they didn't go over and, like, you know, lick off the barbecue sauce or whatever off the grill.
Well, I guess they're going to get rid of that trash can, huh?
I would think.
Okay. Happy hour or lunch hour. Police near Atlanta are asking parents, please double check what you're packing for your children in your lunch boxes. Did you hear about this?
No.
Well, this is because, Mark, one child showed up at school with a martini in a can. You see that? Martini in a can.
Didn't know they had such things.
Yeah. You can buy everything
in a can.
Yeah, now it's
Wow.
amazing. But so apparently that showed up in the lunchbox along with the traditional sandwich and chips.
Well,
and
sure.
all that good stuff next to a bag of Doritos. The police department did have some fun with this, though, saying that this parent had a long night, and that's probably why that ended up in there. But the drink is from the brand Cutwater and is 11% alcohol. So they probably just, maybe they had a long night and they're like, oh, I'm going to put this canned water in my kid, not knowing that it was a martini in a can. How embarrassing.
Well,
Can you imagine?
right? And I hope they didn't break that on the kid, right?
right.
Put the kid in like principal timeout for the next 3 years.
That's hilarious.
But you can see how this would happen. You know, if you put the cans down below there in the fridge and you're just grabbing, and you said, you know, it could be early in the morning, you're slamming together the little meal for them, and you got to get out to the office.
Oh, I bet everybody had a good laugh about that one.
You know, I'm kind of in a way surprised that they even caught that at the lunch line there, or at the lunch table.
I wonder how old the kid was. Maybe the kid was like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
My water tastes funny. Yes, it does.
Funny.
You're going to enjoy that a little later on.
Water's spoiled.
Yeah, it is. Teacher, can you taste this for me?
Ooh, taste that.
Yeah, I'm going to taste your lunch every day. Well, a large coffee, maybe just not big enough to satisfy your need for caffeine. Dunkin' Donuts may have the solution. This girl on TikTok is going viral after she posted a video of a coffee chain's latest test concept.
Wow.
48-ounce bucket of iced coffee. It's currently only available at some New England stores. See, all this stuff comes out. It's only available somewhere far, far away.
We can't play.
Yeah, right? Well, if it does well, they say it could expand nationwide, and it's actually kind of a deal. One bucket costs $8.
Oh, that is a deal.
That is a deal. You know, we could get an $8 bucket and then just pour it out. Yeah. In case you're wondering, the average human stomach can only hold 32 ounces of liquid.
So I'm thinking, though, Mark, I love coffee. Do you like coffee?
Oh, yeah.
I drink a lot of coffee. I probably have a bucket a day.
Oh.
Right?
I could do that.
I don't have it all in one sitting.
Yeah, no.
Like I'll have a couple of cups in the morning. And then maybe, depending on how tired I am, I might have one around 3-ish.
If you had that all at once, you'd be going wee all the way home.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, no, you could do that, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see.
You know, around here we need a little pick-me-up in the morning, especially, you know, a lot of folks get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to come bring you the morning news. So,
exactly.
That's
not us, but other people do that.
We did it at one time.
We did. Right? No more. Okay. Stick around. We'll be right back.
content of this ad.
Welcome back. We continue to follow breaking news. The U.S. and Israel putting pressure on Iran following the death of its supreme leader. Today, Israel launched more strikes at Iran, hitting its capital city of Tehran. The explosion appeared to be in a neighborhood where police headquarters and Iranian state TV are stationed. We are also learning this morning that Iran's chief of army staff and the defense minister were killed by an airstrike during a meeting of the country's defense council. We'll continue to provide coverage of this story throughout the morning. In the meantime, let's head back outside as we take a live look. Looks like there's some sunshine today. Is it going to stick around for the rest of the day? It is certainly cold out there, Mark.
I'm digging the sunshine. Yeah,
Right?
It is cold. High temperatures today, only around 32 degrees or so. And I told you previously we'd see a lot of clouds around today. I think really, in reality, it's going to be a little bit of a sun-cloud mix. This is Futurecast. We have winds coming off the lake today. And you can see a fair amount of clouds as we go through the morning into the afternoon, especially from Chicago northward. We'll have some more clouds pushing in from the south and southwest. So I think on balance, we'll see a little sunshine mixed with some clouds, cool temperatures. All in all, not a bad day with the exception of, again, those temperatures being below average. And as we head towards Monday night into Tuesday, more cloud cover, more chances of rainfall coming our way. But here's one thing that will happen is the cold air that's kind of been infiltrating the upper Midwest, Chicago, will begin to push back. The jet stream starts to pull in some more mild Pacific air, and our temperatures kind of off to the races. We start out in the low 40s Monday and Tuesday, which is about where we should be. And then we push up into the upper 40s and into the 50s later this week. And by the end of the week, I think we'll hit some temperatures into the 60s. Now, that being said, a lot of cloud cover, and we'll have ample chances of wet weather, which is not necessarily all bad because we definitely do need the rainfall. We have some very dry soil conditions across much of northern Illinois, northwest Indiana, and we need the moisture recharge in the soil as we go into springtime. So again, a mix of sun and clouds today. Temperatures a little bit subpar, but you know what? It is Sunday. I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy it because it's not snowing. It is the first day of meteorological spring. Next 48 hours bring us this mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures up to around 32. Overnight tonight, temperatures back down into the upper 20s. And tomorrow we'll start out with some sunshine, temperatures back close to normal, temperatures back up to around 42. And then we introduce the first chance of rainfall coming in Monday night. Some scattered showers certainly possible. And then as we go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all chances of wet weather coming our way. And not only chances during the day, but during the night as well. But those temperatures will continue to increase as we go throughout the rest of the week. And, you know, Sylvia, as I showed you a little bit earlier, taking us all the way through the mid part of March, those temperatures trending above average. So it looks like it's going to be warm and wet here for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Well, millions of years after dinosaurs roamed the earth, an extraordinary find is opening a new window into their prehistoric world. The paleontologist who led the mission is from Chicago. Casey Cronus goes to Washington Park to tell us about this fascinating story.
In a remote corner of the Sahara Desert, a local scientist unearthed a new dinosaur species. The expedition was challenging and at times treacherous, but it resulted in the discovery of a lifetime. Led by paleontologist Paul Serino from the University of Chicago, a 20-person team uncovered the fossil of a previously unknown Spinosaurus in Niger, Africa. Serino's first mission took place in 2019 when he found jaw fragments with the help of a local guide. But when they returned as soon as they could in 2022, they made a remarkable discovery. It's been named Spinosaurus mirabilis. The fish-eating dinosaur featured a striking crest. An animation shows how it may have hunted. Serino suspects the dinosaur could have been buried suddenly by a river. He and his team used CAT scans and other technology to help reconstruct its skeleton, bringing it back to life.
We knew that no one had ever seen anything like this. We began to understand the piece we had picked up belonged to this exotic crest, like a scimitar, like a sword coming off the top of the head. It was such an emotional moment because this dinosaur is so exalted, it's so bizarre, it's so rare. No one had found that much of a Spinosaurus since 1915. It was everything it was meant to be. We collected more bone, 50 tons, than probably any team will ever collect under the harshest conditions.
A recreation of the Spinosaurus mirabilis skull will be on display at the Chicago Children's Museum, located at Navy Pier, beginning March 1st. Dr. Serino plans to return to Niger for future expeditions. He is also setting out to build a fossil lab there and help the country establish a museum. Reporting in Washington Park, Casey Cronus, Fox Chicago.
Coming up, we're stopping by a local church that's had a big impact on many Chicago residents and one former president.
And Fox Local.
Welcome back. It's 7:38. To celebrate Black History Month, Fox Chicago visits a historic church on Chicago's South Side that helped launch the career of our first Black president. But the church's connection to generations of immigrants is as imposing as its steeple. Dane Plotko explains in this week's Monument Moment.
For more than 135 years, this massive stone and brick church has stood at the southwest corner of 113th Street and King Drive in the Roseland neighborhood on Chicago's far south side. Its original bell still tolls, a monument to Chicago's religious, architectural, and political history. In 1890, a congregation made of mostly Irish and Polish families laid this cornerstone for the Holy Rosary Catholic Church, Roseland's first English-speaking Catholic parish. The property was donated by industrialist George Pullman on the condition that it be built in the same style as his company town and rail car factory a few blocks away, which is why the man who designed the Pullman neighborhood also designed this church. Solon S. Beeman was one of the city's most famous architects. So respected, he was commissioned to design several of the buildings at Chicago's 1893 Columbian Exposition. Beeman designed the church in a style of Romanesque revival, standing on a base of massive rough-hewn Joliet limestone blocks, the upper portion of the church clad in red brick. A grand rose window is at the center of the east facade, and a gabled roof is topped with a carved limestone cross. The bell tower rises 85 feet, and when the church was first completed, it made for an imposing sight on this vast open prairie. In 1937, a massive fire destroyed the church's interior, but less than a year later, services were being held once again. Today, the interior of the church reflects the changes made after that fire, with newer stained glass windows and decorations. As the neighborhood around the church changed, so did its mission, becoming an important center of the African American community. In 1985, a young community organizer named Barack Obama moved into this first-floor office in the rectory as the first head of the Developing Communities Project, a faith-based organization focusing on job and educational training and tenants' rights. Before Obama left in 1986, he installed these extra phone lines to handle all his calls. The Chicago Archdiocese closed Holy Rosary in 2008, and in 2016, the building was purchased by Greater Tabernacle Cathedral, which continues to hold religious services and serve as a home base for Chicago's African American community. In 2023, the church became a City of Chicago landmark, and a year later it was added to the National Register of Historic Places, a grand monument to the rich architecture, history, religion, and politics of Chicago's South Side.
And that was Dane Placco reporting. The U.S. men's and women's hockey teams winning the gold medals at the Winter Olympics has made plenty of hockey fans happy. Coming up, we're going to explain how youth hockey programs are hoping to capitalize on that success. We'll be right back.
Fox.
Welcome back at 7:44. Youth hockey programs hope to gain traction after the U.S. men and women's Olympic teams won gold. Jeff Flock is at a hockey program in Long Island, New York, with more on that.
We're getting to skate on the home ice of the Long Island Gulls. It is one of the top youth hockey programs in the country. Maybe you can tell I didn't play youth hockey. I'll tell you, Long Island is a hotbed of youth hockey in America, but it's really everywhere. Take a look at the kids out there. Yeah, they can play. They look like pros to me. They start as early as 6. You know, this team actually has been national champions 2 years in a row of the 16 and under kids. So pretty impressive stuff. Take a look at participation numbers up in the past 4 years, not just around the Olympic championships. Take a look. Men up about, and I say men, it's boys, up about 12%, and women double that. Little girls, a lot of them playing hockey out there these days. And we talked to the director of hockey here, as well as some of the players and their parents.
Over the last 20 years, the sport's boomed. There's been an expansion of rinks, organizations, and there's just a lot more kids and boys and girls playing.
What do you like about it?
The intensity of the game and how quickly you can move the puck around back and forth. Yeah. I would love to play in college. That's probably a dream of mine.
Most he's gotten out of it is discipline.
What do you like about it?
Well, I love that I get to be a part of a big team. We're just a big family, and we all work hard for each other.
And you're out there playing with the boys, though, right?
Yeah, it's really fun.
And these youth programs have been having a big impact. Take a look at the players that came out of the Long Island Gulls that are now playing in the NHL. I've got Bob Thornton, who is the hockey director here. You coached Charlie McAvoy, one of those NHL players, yeah? There's high quality out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Charlie's a homegrown Long Island kid playing for the Boston Bruins now, and obviously he was a captain with the Olympic gold medal team, so it was great to see.
Back in my day, the best kids were from Canada. How about now?
No, the U.S., in my opinion, is on par or just the same as Canada, for sure.
Well, we've had youth hockey, maybe now, well, how about masters hockey? That's the old people. Whoa, yeah, still got it. That's the latest. Youth hockey booming in the U.S., and the occasional old man gets to play too. I'm Jeff Flock with the Fox Business Network and Syosset.
That's fun. I could barely skate, let alone attempt hockey. But you said your granddaughter?
Yeah, 13-year-old. She loves hockey. I don't know where it came from. I mean, you know, maybe back in the family, we all used to play back in the day. But
did you play hockey?
Little bit? More pond hockey. You know, we really didn't have organized hockey back in the day.
I love that pond hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gave you some good fundamentals, but unfortunately, we didn't have a rink, you know, when we got a little bit older.
Cool. I love that she plays hockey. That's so cool that it's becoming such a huge sport. The women win the gold. They're inspiring young generations. So I love that.
You know, it's funny because, you know, the U.S. and Canada just had the big matchup in the gold medal round in the Olympics. And, you know, previously you would think, oh, well, what difference does it make? Because all of the U.S. players are from Canada anyway. Right. But now that's not so much the case. We're like, you know, have this organic growing our own hockey players.
Very
so
cool.
I love
and what
that.
was super cool was to see them win the gold, and then afterwards they all went back to their teams, but they still kind of had that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Wonder what it's like when they get back together now and play each other after they were united in winning the gold medal.
Right.
Right? That's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, hockey players are fun, a fun group.
Right, they are. Okay, you remember this story before. The woman convicted of stowing away on a flight from New York to Paris in 2024. Well, she's apparently done it once again. This is video of her sneaking past a security checkpoint. Take a close look here, Mark.
How does that happen?
I don't know. Look at that. How does that happen? I just can't see that happen.
You know,
but
I mean,
guess what? It does, and
I
it
guess.
did.
There she is.
So Svetlana Dali was arrested in Milan, Italy, after sneaking onto a United flight out of New Jersey. I want to go to Milan, right?
Yeah, right.
Apparently, no one noticed her until that flight was well underway. The FBI says Newark is aware of the alleged stowaway, and it's working with the Port Authority and TSA. No word yet on what charges she might face. So she didn't have a seat. So what did she do? She went in the bathroom and hid. I mean, they check all of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how that even works. You know,
Unless
every
there was
time.
an extra seat and she just sat down, huh?
Yeah, but at some point during the middle of the flight, they must have done a body
That's
count.
crazy, right?
And found out there was one extra soul on board. I don't understand, because every time I go to the airport, you know, they want to count my fingers and toes, you know, 5 times. So
they are really checking. So this is hard to believe.
you're right. All right, this vanity license plate in New York has been the center of controversy for a few weeks. It reads PB4 we go. The state's Department of Motor Vehicles pulled it last month, calling it objectionable.
Oh, I get it.
You
It
know,
took me a minute to figure that out.
There are a lot
before we go.
P before we go. Now, you know, there are a lot of objectionable things in the state of New York. I wouldn't think this would be at the top of the list, but, you know, I guess, you know, the bureaucrats down in Albany, they got to have something to
Who
do
knew how
all
long
day.
it took them to realize that? Like, how long did they have this?
You know, they're probably sitting around the office and, you know, looking up license plate names and numbers.
Do you remember, we recently had a story about, right? Alexi Giannoulias was talking about some of the ones that were not allowed. And for somebody to allow this to slip in, I bet they got such a charge out of it. Hey, we got this one in past the
I don't know. I mean, you know, out of all things that are offensive in today's society, this is kind of low-level stuff. The New York governor got involved and told the car owner he can keep the plate.
Here we go.
So the governor got involved.
Governor, okay.
But yeah, we showed the website, and it had all of the, and a lot of the stuff, I'm looking at it and going, what does that even mean? And it wasn't even something like it was a puzzle,
Offensive or,
but it would be like a certain, you know, key of numbers or something, which meant something to Gen Zs that didn't mean anything to anyone else.
That's how they slipped by. I think that maybe it's a distraction. I don't know. Who knows?
You know.
Yeah, who knows? Okay, so this monkey has gone viral.
This one.
For cuddling a stuffed toy. Do you remember this?
Yeah, we did this
He has found some new friends now. It's important to note that this is his name. His name is Punch. He doesn't have a new family, but zookeepers say he is finally reintegrating into his original troop. This means instead of being shunned from the other monkeys as he was, they're apparently now getting along. The zoo says from lonely to loved, Punch is fitting in just fine.
That's
That
nice.
was kind of a sad story for a lot of people. The poor monkey had been ostracized.
Well, his mother, I think, rejected him.
Rejected him, and then was rejected by some of the other monkeys. So they gave him a stuffed animal and became his best friend. But apparently now the other monkeys are accepting. So you can feel good about this story.
You know, you think it's tough on the playground here for your kids in
Just imagine
grade
being a
school.
monkey.
Yeah, a monkey. It's like, your mama doesn't love you, and we're not going to play with you either, huh? Here's a
Life
stuff.
lesson here.
Yeah,
Life lesson.
You know. All right, the Tampa airport has a new campaign to ban pajamas.
Okay.
A social media post says, after successfully banning Crocs, it's time to take on an even larger crisis. Pajamas at the airport. In the middle of the day. What's wrong with you people? Well, here's the deal. The post ends with a push that says, do your part. Say no to pajamas at the TPA. That's the Tampa airport.
All right.
We'll see if this idea takes off. Okay, here's the part of the story that's not in the script.
What?
This was a joke.
Yes, it was a joke.
Yeah.
But it's become a thing. And so it created this debate. So how do you feel about people going to the airport, you know, dressed in pajamas or, you know, what you might consider inappropriate clothing?
You know, not so much. Jammies, you should probably, I mean, if you want to walk out to the mailbox, you know, whatever with your jammies on, but let's not go in international flights with jammies.
Right.
You know,
it's funny. I had this discussion with my daughter because I always used to say to them, when you go to the airport, you need to dress, you know, you don't need to have your Sunday best on, but you need to dress nice because people treat you differently if you're dressed in a certain way, right?
You know, I had read one time many years ago that if you're going to make a return at a store, I don't know if this is true anymore, but, you know, have a nice shirt on, and if you have a tie on, they're going to take the returns more often.
Sloppy.
And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try that out. And just anecdotal evidence, I found that every time if I was dressed very nicely, they were very, but if I went in there with like an old ratty T-shirt that had paint on it.
There's something to be said for that, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's a subliminal thing that happens, but yeah, the nicer you're dressed, probably I don't know, they just treat you differently, don't they?
We were talking about this story on Friday, and Tia was talking about, she was on a flight where there was someone with a bikini that went on. It was a bikini. They also had like a little wrap that went around it. There was a cover, but she said it was, you know, under that, like, kind of
see-through?
Yeah, yeah.
And they didn't say anything to her?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but,
I would think that they might have stopped that.
You know, just for safety purposes only.
Save the bikini for the beach.
Right, and where do you put your passport? Where do you put your change?
All questions that need to be asked.
Yeah, we need to answer these questions. Yeah.
Okay, don't go anywhere. Mark's going to have another check of our forecast when we come back.
All new Tuesdays on Fox.
Final look at the forecast. What we got, Mark Strail? Look at that forecast going up, up, up.
Up, up, up. But look what's coming down, down.
Rain.
It's the rain. Yeah. 32, a little sunshine around today mixed with some clouds. A pretty decent day tomorrow. Temperatures about average. After that, we're pushing out of the 40s into the 50s and into the 60s. But keep your umbrella handy.
Ella. Okay, and don't go away because we'll be back at 8 with more coming up.
News on Fox. Live from Michigan Avenue, this is Fox 32's Good Day Chicago.
We are following breaking news this morning. The U.S. and Israel continuing to put pressure on Iran following the death of its supreme leader. People in Chicago and across the world divided on the actions of the U.S. and Israel. And a cold Sunday to kick off the month of March for the Chicago area. Mark will have an update on the weather in just a bit. But first, tensions in the Middle East continue to rise this weekend with a massive explosion hitting Iran's capital city just one day after Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed. The Israeli military says it hit targets in central Tehran earlier this morning. The city's skyline was filled with plumes of smoke. That explosion appearing to be in a neighborhood where police headquarters and Iranian state TV are stationed. Iran's chief of army staff and defense ministry were killed by that airstrike during a meeting of the country's defense council. Israeli officials say about 40 senior Iranian commanders were also killed in the airstrikes. According to Iran's president, a new leadership council has been formed and is getting to work. The Iranian military has been launching airstrikes at Israel and other countries in the region as retaliation for the supreme leader's death. This is new video of missiles being intercepted in Dubai early this morning. Iran has been targeting U.S. bases across the Middle East. Reports say the UAE Air Defense Ministry intercepted several Iranian missiles. Dubai officials say all flights to and from its two main airports have been suspended until further notice. And back here at home, anti-war protesters in Chicago were quick to respond to the attack on Iran. A coalition of 27 Chicago-based organizations held what they called an emergency protest at Federal Plaza in the Loop.
We condemn this brazen attempt by the U.S. to destabilize the region, and we stand in unconditional solidarity with the people of Iran as the U.S. and Israel launches yet another deadly campaign of imperialist violence and repression against a sovereign nation.
We all stand united today, demanding an end to the criminal attack on Iran and demand no more war.
In the meantime, there's a very different reaction from members of Chicago's Iranian American community, some gathering at Daley Plaza to celebrate that attack. Dane Placco reports.
It was nothing short of a dance party and celebration as about 100 Iranian Americans met under the Picasso statue in Daley Plaza to celebrate the U.S. attack on their homeland and the death of its longtime leader.
Finally, last night, I smiled a little bit. After 2 months crying and begging for help from the Western countries, from the free world, finally, as President Trump promised, as he said, help is on its way, it arrived. You're crying.
I am cry laughing. This is surreal. We have been wanting this for 47 years.
Many of those here say their families fled to the United States decades ago to escape Iran's oppressive religious government. This couple handing out sweets to celebrate.
We are giving the sweets to people. After 47 years of torture and being hostage with this regime, we have it. This is the happiest day of my life.
Others held pictures of protesters killed in Iran during a vicious government crackdown earlier this year.
These people have died at the hands of their government. It's exciting that Khamenei's dead. These thousands, tens of thousands of people lost their family.
They admit regime change will not be easy, but they believe there will be a groundswell of support to bring back the son of the late Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, who's been living in exile since 1979.
People are just ready for the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, and President Trump, as they said, just take shelter, wait for now, we'll let you know, to come back to the street and take over the government when it's safe to do so.
And as the world watches to see what happens with the current situation in the Middle East, a lot of people are split over this move and concerned about what's going to happen next. Joining us now to discuss is political science professor Shmulik with Northwestern University. Professor, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And I want to start with a question that I'm not quite sure how you feel about answering, but It has been said for some time that, Iran's been working on this nuclear program. The president said that's why we're doing this, and this has been a concern for years. What do we know about what's different now, and what do we know about just exactly how far Iran has actually gotten with its nuclear program?
So I'm going to be perfectly candid with you. I think there is no way that the Iranian nuclear program is the real issue here. It's just not. Right?
Okay, you tell me what you think the issue is.
Yeah, I think the real issue is that there are millions of Iranians who have taken to the streets to bravely resist this appalling dictatorship. And I think that the White House and clearly the Israeli government think it's a timely opportunity to try to send this regime to the dustbin of history with the help of its people.
So let's talk about that, because there have been a lot of protests for and against this war in the U.S. The president is calling for the people of Iran to take to the streets, seize this opportunity to help take down the current regime. What's the likelihood of that happening, you think?
I think it would be presumptuous of me to give you anything like a confident prediction. I don't think anyone knows. I think that's the honest truth. My sense is that there's a consensus among anyone who studies the subject or anything related to the subject that this regime is at its most vulnerable point than it's ever been ever since the Islamic Revolution in the 70s. Will it last for 5 more days or 5 more years? I think, frankly, it's anyone's guess. Of course, I want to hope it's closer to 5 days than to 5 years. But I just don't know, and I don't think anyone does. I think that's the shortest answer I can give you.
Okay, so many of Iran's leaders have been killed in these strikes, including the supreme leader. I'm curious, how do you think that's going to impact the country then? And not only the country, but the Middle East?
Of course. I think it's very, very clear that this regime has no more reserves, in the sense that everything they have in terms of repressive apparatus, guns, any kind of finances they have left, everything is out there. They're not keeping anything in reserve because this might well be their last fight. And so it seems very clear that both the Israeli Air Force and the American military arsenal is directed to a very large extent at basically decapitating Iranian leaders one by one, and with the hope that eventually there'll be enough momentum for the Iranian masses to topple the regime. How many people will have to die before that happens? Again, I frankly do not know. It seems to me pretty clear that this regime's best days are far, far behind it. Again, I'm sorry that I cannot give you a firm prediction as to anything. I think that there are actually 2 things I feel fairly confident about, if I may, if you'll allow me very quickly.
Please.
One is that I think that just as a sort of moral point, which is really actually the focus of my own research, since Donald Trump has said repeatedly, and as you guys have reported and others have reported for a long time now, that help is on its way, there was a moral debt to the Iranian people. You cannot let millions risk their lives, hundreds of thousands get injured, tens of thousands massacred by the regime without ever coming to their aid, as you promised you'll do. So I think there was a moral debt here which has to be accounted for. That I feel pretty confident about. The second point I feel confident about is actually in terms of Israel's domestic politics, given that this is the place where I come from. I can tell you, as surprising as it may sound, that Iran is by far, in my view, by far the country in which Benjamin Netanyahu is the most popular compared to any other country in the world. Right now. If you ask what percentage of Israelis love the man as compared to what percentage of Iranians love the man, there's going to be a pretty striking imbalance there. So I just wanted to flag that very striking observation.
Yeah, there's so much involved here, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And you're absolutely right. Nobody can predict what is going to come of this, whether the Iranian people will go to the streets again to try to take over. We are all watching closely. We appreciate you joining us this morning to help us break this all down. And we will all, like you, wait to see what happens next. Professor Shmuluk with Northwestern University, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, you take care as well. Coming up on Good Day, we're going to continue our coverage on the conflict in the Middle East and have the latest on what we're hearing out of Washington. We'll be right back.
Fox Local.
Welcome back. It's 8:12. Yesterday, the nation woke up to news that the U.S. and Israel were attacking Iran. Iran has retaliated with several strikes against U.S. interests. Rebecca Castor joining us now from Washington, D.C. Rebecca, thanks for joining us. So we woke up to the news yesterday morning, but this attack happened during the middle of the day, or the morning, that is, when a lot of Iranians were either at work or going to work. And I understand you have found out why, in fact, that was the cause. What can you tell us?
Yes, Sylvia, good morning. A senior White House official told us that the president had no choice but to strike when he did. They laid it out to us like this. They said that the U.S. had strong intelligence that Iran was actually planning to strike first. And President Trump decided he did not want our U.S. assets overseas, some of our military bases, to be struck with missiles first. He didn't want that attack to happen. So that was part of the reason. Another reason is they had strong intelligence that a large number of Iranian regime figures were meeting with the supreme leader at a compound in Tehran. So they worked with Israel very closely on this. Israel was targeting the military figures, the regime figures, and the U.S. was targeting military and ballistic sites. So with those two things combined, they decided we can't wait for nightfall. This is when we need to greenlight this mission.
Okay, so the question now is, how long will these strikes continue? If it was for those two reasons that you talked about, and he's also, of course, said he did not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. At what point do they stop with the strikes to make sure that they have mission accomplished?
Right. That's a great question. And I think that answer is still to come. President Trump has said that this mission could last at least a week, but he said maybe more if they believe that there are still targets that they want to get. Again, they're targeting military and ballistic missile sites. So we are seeing that be successful so far, but we haven't heard of any indication that diplomatic talks are resuming.
And they have said that multiple leaders were actually killed during separate strikes. Interesting that you mentioned that they said one of the reasons was because they had information that some of these leaders were all going to be gathered in the same location. Is that right?
Yes, and that's interesting, too, because the White House official that we talked to said that they really caught the Iranians off guard. It's Ramadan, one of the most holy months in the Muslim faith, and they were celebrating that as well. And it's common in that faith to be home and be fasting during the time. So a lot of these leaders were caught off guard, but that's a strong reason why they decided to attack when they did.
So as you are keeping a close eye on what's going on in Washington, D.C., what have they told the media, the press, about next steps? What do you know?
Right, so President Trump is still in Mar-a-Lago today. He doesn't have any public events on his schedule. He is planning to return to the White House this evening, and I imagine we will have multiple press briefings from Caroline Leavitt or even the president himself, especially with this debate that's going to play out when lawmakers return on Monday about if President Trump misused the War Powers Act by launching this strikes without congressional approval. So we are going to hear a lot of debate about that over the next several days.
All right, Rebecca Castor reporting live from Washington for us. Thanks for that, Rebecca. Okay, let's go back home here and find out what's happening with the forecast. Mark Strell, a little sunshine, a little overcast skies, and it's cold, right?
Yeah, and you know, we're mostly sunny here this morning. I expect to see a few more clouds later on this afternoon. Look at this picture here, Sylvia. You know, we were talking about how yesterday, you know, almost like if you close one eye and squint a little bit, you could pretend like you're in Florida here this morning, right? Yeah, a couple little dolphins out, you know, frolicking around, and maybe a sailboat or two. Yeah, you won't see any dolphins out there. Lake temperatures are in the 30s. You won't see any sailors out there today either. It's a little chilly. And air temperatures today going to be the same thing. We're going to see daytime highs right around 32. Your forecast high temperature of 32 at both of the airports, 30 degrees along the lakeshore, Waukegan at 30. Slightly warmer if you go down towards Seneca, Morris, down towards LaSalle, Peru, Mendota up to about 37 degrees today, 36 in Kankakee, 33 in Maryville, and temperatures around 35 in DeKalb. So look at this. Blue skies, sunshine get us started. I think we'll generate a few clouds as we go throughout the later morning and into the afternoon, but all things being equal, I think a pretty decent day. Satellite radar, yeah, you can see some clouds kind of wafting in from the lake. Other than that, nothing major going on today other than some cool temperatures. 26 at O'Hare, 27 degrees now at Midway. It's 22 in DeKalb. Winds, they've been settling down, but they are coming in off the lake. So a cool breeze coming in from the lake. Winds gusting at times up to 19 miles per hour at Gary. And we've seen some 25 mile per hour wind gusts over the last 12 hours or so, but still good enough to reduce the wind chills down into the teens. Those teen wind chills will continue to go up higher as wind chills become less of a factor as the winds slacken and as the temperatures push up a little closer to 32. Now, there has been some lake effect snow across parts of the Great Lakes, and you see a little shot coming in around Milwaukee. I don't think we're going to have any issues with that today. Yesterday, it looked like there'd be a tiny chance of that happening, especially along the North Shore. But Sylvia, I think we're solid today.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Mark. Girl Scouts are doing a little more than just selling cookies this weekend. They're also learning what it takes for a career in law. The 16th annual Project Law Seminar was held at the DePaul College of Law. A lot of Girl Scouts from the Chicago area and Northwest Indiana got some mentoring from female attorneys, including taking part in a mock trial.
So they get paired with a mentor. They get to work up their case for trial. They get paired with Second City actors to play their witnesses. And then we get to go to court and have trials in front of real-life presiding judges and jurors from off the street. It's an incredible opportunity for the girls to stand up, use their voice, and work together to build a case.
They are also learning skills such as critical thinking, public speaking, and teamwork that can help even if they don't pursue a career in the courtroom. Mayor Johnson was part of a ribbon-cutting ceremony held in the back of the Yards neighborhood. They're celebrating the construction of 2 new homes in the 5,000 block of South Aberdeen on what used to be 2 empty lots. This is all part of a city and private effort called the Resurrection Project, which aims to build a total of 28 new homes this year for low-income families. As the program expands, they're hoping to build 2,000 new homes on empty lots on the city's south and west sides.
Converting these lots, these vacant lots, into 28 new homes, we are not only making use of unused land, but we are making neighborhoods safer. We are attracting the economy and expanding opportunities for affordable home ownership.
The new homes cost $500,000 to build, but are being sold for $315,000 with the help of city and state assistance. The Asian American Coalition of Chicago puts on its annual Lunar New Year celebration. There was a reception, a lion dance, and plenty of other performances as they welcome the Year of the Horse. Don't go anywhere. Mark and I are back with some trending stories for you from this week.
not responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome back. A pest control company was called to a Central Texas home after the family started hearing noises coming from their dryer. Didn't take them too long to discover what was causing all the racket. It was a squirrel. The critter had crawled all the way up the dryer vent and went into the dryer where he got stuck. The extra fluffy fellow was released into the yard shortly after being removed. Now, you were telling me earlier, I was asking you about crazy critters. This would be scary. You had a crazy critter in your roof that was trapped.
Yes.
I remember several years ago, and I had an old home, and my sister was staying with me. And she comes over. She was staying in the attic room. Okay.
You put your sister in the attic.
My sister.
Yeah.
It was a really cute room. We had redone it. Okay. But there was this thing that was over the door, and she thought it was maybe a good luck charm or something that I had nailed up there. Right.
I see where we're going with this.
So she comes back down to me. And she says, "What's the symbol that you have nailed up in the door before I go into the attic room?" And I said, "What symbol?" She said, "Come here."
Let me guess. It was black, right?
Yeah. And can you guess what else it was?
Well, I know what it was.
It was a bat.
Yeah.
It was a bat. So we had to call the Batman.
The Batman came and got the bat.
Came and got the bat. And I remember, I looked at it and went, "Oh, that is not a symbol. That is not supposed to be here." And he came and apparently, I guess we have a lot of bats here in Illinois.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So if it was a summer night and maybe the door was open and they can fly in.
They've got 100 different ways to get into places, right? Because they're so little things. Yeah.
But the Batman came and he had a glove on.
And grabbed the bat?
And grabbed the bat.
And took it out, yeah. You know, it is amazing. The funny part of that story is that she thought it was a decoration.
Yeah, she thought I had, it was a good luck charm. It was a symbol.
Yeah. We love bats. We just don't love them in our house.
We don't love them in our house. But, yeah, we have a lot of bats.
Yeah.
Be outside in the backyard at night and
zipping around. And they are great to have around the neighborhood because they eat like a bazillion mosquitoes every single hour.
Yeah,
they're just
every
like little,
hour, huh?
bazillion per hour. That's scientific. They just, it's literally like 1,000 an hour. They can go and just swallow them right up as they fly through the air. So great little creatures to have around.
Illinois, home of the bats, but I guess bats are everywhere, huh?
Bats are in everyone's belfry.
Yeah, exactly. Get them out of the belfry and my house.
All right, check out these glowing eyes.
Now, this is kind of scary.
Yeah, well, especially if you look outside and you see glowing eyes coming into your house. There's a mama bear and her baby bears, and they're coming into the screen porch. They're looking for, what, porridge? I don't know. But they go right through the screen. You know, it's funny. I don't know if this is a thing like in horror movies or whatever, but sometimes people run into the screened-in porch and they think, oh, na boo-boo, I'm home free.
Right.
I'm in the screened-in porch. Well, no.
Look how many there are.
Just go right through that.
I have a question for you, Mark.
It's a batch of bears, isn't it?
Look at that. What did we do before Ring cameras? That could have happened, and they thought somebody broke, they thought there was a burglar, but no, now we know that it's a bunch of bears.
Well, or, there's Bob down the street, and he's going around
Nosy
telling
Bob,
everyone
Mrs. Kravitz,
that, hey, there's bears running around the neighborhood.
And you're saying,
and
Bob's
they broke into my house. Yeah, Bob,
Bob's
you're crazy.
Insane.
And they break in every Thursday, and, I know they're bears because they're getting trash all over the place. And you're like,
do bears leave little surprises like, ducks and stuff do behind them?
Probably not as bad, because as we all know, Sylvia.
What do we know, Mark?
They go in the woods. But they have such great noses, and they're just like
sniff everything out.
And you know what? If they were really hungry, they probably could have just popped through the porch into the kitchen and gone in and maybe eaten the pizza that was sitting out on the counter.
Life before Ring cameras. Who knew? Okay. Right? Happy hour or lunch hour. Police in Atlanta are asking parents, please double check your child's lunchbox because look what happened here. One of the kids showed up with a martini in a can. Yep, you see that right there in the lunchbox right next to the Cheetos. The police department had fun with this one, saying that the parents must have had a long night and put together this starter pack for their child. The drink is from the brand Cutwater and is actually 11% alcohol. Well, at least it wasn't too much alcohol.
Yeah, only 11%.
Exactly.
Now, here's the funny part of that. I didn't catch this the first time we did the story. The police were involved in this. Back when we were kids, the principal would have gone on horn with the mom and gone, hey, Becky, don't put any more stuff in your, there was a mix-up. Come on down. We need to have a chat or a conference. But now the PO's involved,
The PO's involved. And I'm sure sure it was a mistake. In fact, who knows? Probably the kid looked at it and went,
yeah,
this tastes funny. This tastes
right.
spoiled.
And you know, back in the day, back in my day, the teacher would have said, "Oh, I'll take care of that.
Exactly.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Here, we'll get you. Here's 50 cents. Go over to the Coke machine and get whatever you want, kid. I'm going to take this back to the faculty lounge.
I'll keep this, and you can enjoy some water."
There you go.
Okay. That's funny. That is crazy.
You can see how that easy thing could happen, though. You're reaching in the fridge.
Did you always pack school lunches for your children?
No. They had hot lunch at school. So, you know, it was easier probably half the time to give them 75 cents and or whatever it was back in the day.
Sometimes my mom would pack me school lunch, and it would, you know, it'd be food that people would like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I would always be a little embarrassed about it.
It was probably pretty tasty.
It
like
was,
stuff
but,
like,
you know, nobody knew what I was eating. So, you know how kids are. You want to blend in.
Well, and the
now I
other
look
thing,
forward
too,
to
is
that.
it's hard to trade your whatever you had for the dream.
For Roscoe Gandules or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Nowadays, I'd trade you 5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for that. Yeah.
We'll be right back. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Way to go, Mom. You're up.
Welcome back. We continue to follow breaking news for you. The U.S. and Israel putting pressure on Iran following the death of its supreme leader. Today, Israel launched more strikes at Iran, hitting its capital city of Tehran. The explosion appeared to be in a neighborhood where police headquarters and Iranian state TV are stationed. Israeli officials say about 40 senior Iranian commanders were killed in the airstrikes. According to Iran's president, a new leadership council has been formed and is getting to work. We'll continue to provide updates as they come into our newsroom. But right now, let's find out what you can expect with your forecast as we take a live look outside. Looking absolutely beautiful out there. Go out, get some sunshine. But first, Mark, make sure you bundle up, right?
Oh, yeah. And look at the waves there crashing into the breakwall.
What a pretty shot.
It is gorgeous. I just love it. Anytime in Chicago we have 100% blue skies, you know, I love that because around here we have a fair amount of clouds, and I think we could see some clouds later on this morning, and certainly as we go towards the afternoon. And for much of the rest of the week, it's going to be cloudy with a good shot of some rainfall around the city. So yeah, I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy today with the sunshine, soak up some of that vitamin D, although it will be a little bit on the cool side with temperatures running about 10 degrees below average today. Now, from here on out, we're going to trend above average. Starting tomorrow, we're going to be about normal, into the low 40s. That'll be true on Tuesday as well. But you can see the temperature trend taking us all the way out to the middle of March, showing lots of red splashed on the map. And this is the 10-day outlook. So we start out in the low 40s for tomorrow and Tuesday. We're up to 50 degrees on Wednesday, 54 on Thursday, 63 on Friday, and we hold in the 50s and 60s through the weekend, Monday and Tuesday, even beyond that. Wednesday, not too bad. Thursday, back up into the 60s. Now, that's the end of the 10-day forecast, so we are kind of out there, but that certainly is the trend. Now, this being said about the mild temperatures, it's going to be cloudy, and it is going to be wet this week. Starting tomorrow night and continuing all the way through the early part of the weekend, we've got chances of some showers popping our way. All right, winds are coming in off the lake today. We have lots of sunshine right now, but I told you we'll have some clouds from time to time. This takes us up to 10 o'clock in the morning. You see from Milwaukee all the way down to about Chicago, some lakes, some lake effect clouds being generated here. And we'll see the clouds kind of pop in and pop out as we go throughout the day. But, you know, sunshine is going to feel good today, in spite of the fact that we have temperatures that are below average. Shot of some rainfall coming in Monday night. Tuesday, some clouds around, still an isolated shower around the area, and then more wet weather as we go, especially into Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as I mentioned. Right now, cooler air dropping in across the upper Great Lakes. We're tapping into that this morning, but watch what happens as we go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The cold air retreats back to the north and to the northeast. The jet stream flattens out, bringing us in that mild Pacific air. 40s, 50s, and 60s coming this week.
All right, thanks, Mark. Millions of years after dinosaurs roamed the earth, an extraordinary find is opening a new window into their prehistoric world. The paleontologist who led the mission is from Chicago, and Casey Cronus takes us to Washington Park with this fascinating story.
In a remote corner of the Sahara Desert, a local scientist unearthed a new dinosaur species. The expedition was challenging and at times treacherous, but it resulted in the discovery of a lifetime.
Led by paleontologist Paul Serino from the University of Chicago, a 20-person team uncovered the fossil of a previously unknown Spinosaurus in Niger, Africa. Serino's first mission took place in 2019 when he found jaw fragments with the help of a local guide. But when they returned as soon as they could in 2022, they made a remarkable discovery. It's been named Spinosaurus mirabilis. The fish-eating dinosaur featured a striking crest. An animation shows how it may have hunted. Serino suspects the dinosaur could have been buried suddenly by a river. He and his team used CAT scans and other technology to help reconstruct its skeleton, bringing it back to life.
We knew that no one had ever seen anything like this. We began to understand the piece we had picked up belonged to this exotic crest, like a scimitar, like a sword coming off the top of the head. It was such an emotional moment because this dinosaur is so exalted, it's so bizarre, it's so rare. No one had found that much of a Spinosaurus since 1915. It was everything it was meant to be. We collected more bone, 50 tons, than probably any team will ever collect under the harshest conditions.
A recreation of the Spinosaurus mirabilis skull will be on display at the Chicago Children's Museum, located at Navy Pier, beginning March 1st.
Dr. Serino plans to return to Niger for future expeditions. He is also setting out to build a fossil lab there and help the country establish a museum. Reporting in Washington Park, Casey Cronus, Fox Chicago.
Do you need help finding healthier food options? The local restaurant has some tips for everyone. That's coming up after the break. Welcome back. It's 8:39. Youth hockey programs hope to gain traction after the USA men and women's Olympic teams won gold. Jeff Flock is at a hockey program in Long Island in New York, that is, with more.
We're getting to skate on the home ice of the Long Island Gulls. It is one of the top youth hockey programs in the country. Maybe you can tell I didn't play youth hockey. I'll tell you, Long Island is a hotbed of youth hockey in America, but it's really everywhere. Take a look at the kids out there. Yeah, they can play. They look like pros to me. They start as early as 6. You know, this team actually has been national champions 2 years in a row of the 16 and under kids. So pretty impressive stuff. Take a look at participation numbers up in the past 4 years, not just around the Olympic championships. Take a look. Men up about, and I say men, it's boys, up about 12%, and women double that. Little girls, a lot of them playing hockey out there these days. And we talked to the director of hockey here, as well as some of the players and their parents.
Over the last 20 years, the sport's boomed. There's been an expansion of rinks, organizations, and there's just a lot more kids and boys and girls playing.
What do you like about it?
The intensity of the game and how quickly you can move the puck around back and forth. Yeah. I would love to play in college. That's probably a dream of mine.
Most he's gotten out of it is discipline.
What do you like about it?
Well, I love that I get to be a part of a big team. We're just a big family, and we all work hard for each other.
And you're out there playing with the boys, though, right?
Yeah, it's really fun.
And these youth programs have been having a big impact. Take a look at the players that came out of the Long Island Gulls that are now playing in the NHL. I've got Bob Thornton, who is the hockey director here. You coached Charlie McAvoy, one of those NHL players, yeah? There's high quality out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Charlie's a homegrown Long Island kid playing for the Boston Bruins now, and obviously he was a captain with the Olympic gold medal team, so it was
Back in my day, the best kids were from Canada. How about now?
No, the U.S., in my opinion, is on par or just the same as Canada, for sure.
Well, we've had youth hockey, maybe now, how about Masters hockey? That's the old people. Whoa, yeah, still got it. That's the latest. Youth hockey booming in the U.S., and the occasional old man gets to play too. I'm Jeff Flock with the Fox Business Network and Syosset in New York.
National Nutrition Month is actually kicking off in March, and it helps spotlight balanced and intentional eating habits. So joining us now in the studio to help us eat healthy food is a co-founder of a company called Crisp and Green. Lily Phillips is here to tell us more about it. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay, tell everybody, what is Crisp and Green?
Yes, so Crisp and Green is a fast casual restaurant serving all made from scratch, healthy meals, bowls, salads, smoothies, wraps, all of those things that make it really exciting and keep eating healthy fresh. We make everything to order right in front of you.
Okay, so explain how you kind of got involved. You're one of the founders. What led you to this?
Yes, so my business partner and I, Steele Smiley, our founder and chairman, he had a fitness company years ago, and about 10 years ago, and we decided, hey, this is what is missing. So once we got out of the fitness business, we got into the healthy food business, and we still really incorporate fitness at our core. It's a huge way of that other 23 hours of the day we can satisfy on the eating side of things, and then the fitness side of things is that 1 hour workout.
So let's talk about, we're looking at some pictures now. What is involved in the foods? Tell me what we're seeing.
Yes, so here are just a couple examples. So we've got a grain bowl, we've got a salad, we've got our scratch-made agua frescas, we've got wraps. So basically, you know, we take all the whole produce and proteins and we marinate them and we roast them and chop them and do all of those things that make sometimes healthy eating not as convenient. And so we do all of that for you, and we'll assemble it in many different ways, keep all those flavors fresh. All of our dressings are made from scratch. So, you know, even though a lot of people have their go-to that they will never deviate from, but it's nice to have that variety.
Yeah. So how many locations locations do you guys have?
Right now, we've got 50 locations across 16 states. 2 are in Chicagoland, in Naperville and Vernon Hills, but we have more coming this year that we are announcing soon.
So did you guys see a need for this? There has been kind of an increase in healthy eating places. There's a lot of different, salad places that have opened. I know I was in LA not too long ago. They have a lot more of this than we do.
Yeah.
So you just felt like this was kind of feeding a need that wasn't out there?
The Midwest has always been an active, healthy part of the country, and it's been forgotten, I think. And so to bring this to communities across the Midwest where our roots are, it was like people have said, finally is a convenient, healthy option for us. So that is, the reason why it started. And look, with more brands coming, there's plenty of room for everybody to really give back
more
to
access,
that.
Yes. So when do you open your Chicago location?
So later this year, we'll have 2 more opening, and then Naperville is open right now. Vernon Hills is open right now. So we're filling out that suburban area right now, really helping those very, very busy families who are looking for convenient and healthy options.
Well, can't wait to give it a shot. Thank you so much for coming in and teaching us about your company.
Yeah, thank you.
You take care. And don't go anywhere. Mark's going to have a final check of the forecast when we come back.
Fox 32 Chicago.
Welcome back. It's 8:47. To celebrate Black History Month, Fox Chicago visits a historic church on Chicago's South Side that helped launch the career of our first Black president. But the church's connection to generations of immigrants is as imposing as its steeple. Dane Placco explains in this week's Monument Moment.
For more than 135 years, this massive stone and brick church has stood at the southwest corner of 113th Street and King Drive in the Roseland neighborhood on Chicago's far south side. Its original bell still tolls, a monument to Chicago's religious, architectural, and political history. In 1890, a congregation made of mostly Irish and Polish families laid this cornerstone for the Holy Rosary Catholic Church, Roseland's first English-speaking Catholic parish. The property was donated by industrialist George Pullman on the condition that it be built in the same style as his company town and rail car factory a few blocks away, which is why the man who designed the Pullman neighborhood also designed this church. Solon S. Beeman was one of the city's most famous architects. So respected, he was commissioned to design several of the buildings at Chicago's 1893 Columbian Exposition. Beeman designed the church in a style of Romanesque revival, standing on a base of massive rough-hewn Joliet limestone blocks, the upper portion of the church clad in red brick. A grand rose window is at the center of the east facade, and a gabled roof is topped with a carved limestone cross. The bell tower rises 85 feet, and when the church was first completed, it made for an imposing sight on this vast open prairie. In 1937, a massive fire destroyed the church's interior, but less than a year later, services were being held once again. Today, the interior of the church reflects the changes made after that fire, with newer stained glass windows and decorations. As the neighborhood around the church changed, so did its mission, becoming an important center of the African American community. In 1985, a young community organizer named Barack Obama moved into this first-floor office in the rectory as the first head of the Developing Communities Project, a faith-based organization focusing on job and educational training and tenants' rights. Before Obama left in 1986, he installed these extra phone lines to handle all his calls. The Chicago Archdiocese closed Holy Rosary in 2008, and in 2016, the building was purchased by Greater Tabernacle Cathedral, which continues to hold religious services and serve as a home base for Chicago's African American community. In 2023, the church became a City of Chicago landmark, and a year later it was added to the National Register of Historic Places, a grand monument to the rich architecture, history, religion, and politics of Chicago's South Side.
Very cool. Well, the woman convicted of stowing away on a flight from New York to Paris in 2024 has apparently done it again. Take a close look at this video. You see that circle there, Mark?
Yeah.
You're going to want to follow that, okay, because there she goes.
Look at that. How do you do that?
She's sneaking past the security checkpoint during that misadventure. Multiple reports say Svetlana Dali was arrested in Milan, Italy, after sneaking onto a United Airlines flight out of New Jersey. Apparently, no one noticed her until that flight was well underway. The FBI says Newark is aware of this alleged stowaway, and it's working with the Port Authority and the TSA, but no word yet on what charges she might face. That's crazy, isn't it?
They don't.
Right, but she, yeah.
I was going to say they don't really take that lightly anymore.
Yeah, because you know,
right?
you think about it, when you get to security. Well, first of all, how'd she get past that
Exactly.
TSA, right? But then by the time you get to this part, you've already shown your ticket and your ID.
Right.
So that's not the amazing part. The amazing part is how she got through security, and then there she is boarding the plane, right?
Yeah, and it seems like I'm being, you know, they're looking at my belly button to make sure I'm who I am, you know?
It's crazy how, and not once, not twice, but multiple times.
Yeah, and we've had a few people like this that have
somebody
jumped on again and again, and it just amazes me that they're able to, you know, find the cracks in security. Well, this vanity license plate in New York has been the center of controversy for a few weeks. It reads, "Pee before we go." The state's Department of Motor Vehicles pulled it last month, calling it objectionable. I would say out of all the things that are objectionable in New York State, this is probably ranks towards the bottom. But apparently, even the New York governor got involved. He told the car owner, hey, it's okay. You know, those people at the DMV, they need to lighten up. You can kind of keep that plate.
Just a little reminder you're driving by. Oh, yeah, thank you for that tip.
Yeah,
I'll remember
thank you.
to do that. Thank
right,
you.
because it's really just a public service announcement.
It's a public.
We don't want people stopping on the...
It's a PSA for the PB4.
Thank you very much.
I think so.
Well spoken.
So, remember that monkey who went viral for cuddling a stuffed toy because he had been rejected by his mother and the other monkeys?
We talked about it right here.
Guess what? Yep. Punch now has new friends and new family. Zookeepers say he is finally reintegrating into his original troop. This means instead of being shunned from the other monkeys, they are now getting along, the zoo says. From lonely to loved, Punch is fitting in just fine. I wonder if he's going to keep that stuffed monkey with him.
I don't know. The other monkeys might make fun of him for still having it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he was rejected by his mother, and then apparently the rest of the monkeys like, you don't have a mother, so we're not playing with you.
Something must have happened. Now they think Punch is cool. So for all those who that makes them happy.
Well, he was probably going, I got a stuffed friend and you don't. Yeah, I mean, this is how it goes on in my head in monkey language. You know, when I sit and stare at the monkeys, I'm imagining a conversation that goes back and forth right there.
Okay, you're going to love this next one. So, relief for a Chicago couple who had some wedding drama due to that violence in Mexico. Robbie Morris and Katie Bicaro are now husband and wife, and these are actually photos from their big day at the Alston Steakhouse. The couple was supposed to get married in Guadalajara, but they had to cancel after violence erupted. This was all over the news, right? Following the death of that drug cartel leader. After seeing the couple's story, the Alston decided to step in to host Robbie and Katie and their 120 guests. How nice is that, huh?
That is special.
Yeah.
A lot going on down in Mexico. I had some friends that were flying down to Puerto Vallarta, and they got down, they landed on the plane, they're looking around, they're like, oh, there seems to be a lot of smoke around this neighborhood. They were taking the luggage off of the airplane, it was going down the little conveyor belt, and they noticed all of a sudden the conveyor belt starts going backwards, and the luggage was going back on. The captain says, yeah, we're leaving.
Was that the day of, or was that like right after?
Yeah, within a day or so, yeah.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people thought all of the airports in Mexico were shut down, but they weren't.
Right.
I had some friends who were in Mexico City, and they didn't have any
problem at all.
Yeah. So, but still, that's a little unnerving, isn't it?
Well, and especially when you're expected to go to the beach that day, and all of a sudden we're flying back to the chilly Midwest.
I know one of our colleagues had plans to go on vacation to Puerto Vallarta.
That got canceled. Oh, interesting.
So he was trying to get his money back. We'll have to find out what happened.
Fortunately, things hopefully are settling down there a little bit.
Hopefully so. Let's talk weather, shall we?
If you want to go to the beach, you can go to our beach, but it's not going to be the same. I'm telling you, 32 degrees high temperature today. Look for mostly sunny skies this morning, and then a few clouds drifting in as we go throughout the day today. But all things being equal, in spite of the fact we're 10 degrees below average, I think a halfway decent day. Winds are going to settle down. We're up to 42 tomorrow. Tomorrow also, I think, a pretty solid day. 42 is closer to average for this time of year. And as we go into Monday night and Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, not an all-week soaking rain, but as you can see, there are chances of rain.
Every day, huh?
Every day. But here's, I guess, the flip side of that is we warm up 50 degrees on Wednesday, mid-50s for Thursday, and we are breaking into the 60s on Friday. We need the rainfall. We need to kind of charge up the soil moisture because we're pretty dry. We don't want to be going, with, very low bank account in the soil moisture department as we go into spring. So this is needed.
And this, could be worse because if it was cold, that'd probably be snow, right?
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine what that would look like?
Thank you.
And then you'd be mad at me.
Yeah, I know. But look at that. We're going to be going all the way up to 63 on Friday. Can we honestly say spring has sprung yet?
Well, meteorological spring, first day today. We will see. I'm going to make you a prediction. We will see snow again.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good.
And it will be cold. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to do. Yeah.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
You're a genius.
No, I just looked at the record books.
That's going to do it for us. Make sure to come back and join us on Fox Local and our website for our 10 a.m. digital show. Always a good time.
It's a hoot.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We say things we never say on TV.
Yeah, sometimes.